So this is a video that's going to go through how I set up the Protopie prototyping for my website. I'll go through the preview first. So it starts up with the login screen. If you click sign up, take you to these questions. You can type in your name. It's going to ask you how do you identify. Age, I'm going to say I'm 20. Then 3 questions to set up your basic preferences. It's fine like that. It applies it and then gives you login details. Just type in anything here, doesn't really matter. Signs you in, and then welcomes you and takes you to the home page. At the home page you have your preferences blocked, and then the drop down menu, which I'll come to at the end. Preferences takes you to the side menu, which you have format, content, and the frequency. And then blocked, which I haven't done, so never mind that. But the drop down menu, you have the pause, scrolls up, and then it scrolls down. So for blocked and for history, it'll be the same as well as for format, content, frequency. Same principles will apply. So how I did it, now this looks extremely confusing, I'm well aware, but I was figuring it out as I went along. So there's a lot of stuff that I learned you can do in a more structured way, but I kind of went into this with the same work principle as how InVision works, having everything on one scene and then keyframing the movements. So over here you can see, so the first thing that starts up is the logo, and the logo on start, it triggers the scale, the opacity, and then when you click on it, the movement as well. Or not when you click on it, after it's done popping up from the middle. So that'll be that you see, the pop-up and scroll up. So what's happening here is, to get it to scale from 0 to 100 perfect scale, you have to go set the scale to 0 and then make the duration, as you can see here, 0. So that's the first thing that I learned you can do. That's quite helpful. I used it a lot, as you can see here. All these small little slithers are where the opacity has to start at 0 for things that I don't want. I want in the scene to move in from that area. And then, for example, that'll be this input container. So where does that come up? Only way later here. So when I click on that, also if you want to scroll, this thing is extremely difficult to navigate. So if you want to scroll, you can click mouse button in, hold it, and then it'll scroll to the side for you. So here the opacity kicks in and it becomes visible. Other than that, it's a mix. The way I went about doing this is a mixture of After Effects, Logic, and InVision, or the InVision Studio way of how things work. So it's a lot of keyframing and setting up, but it does work really well if you can keep your things organized and keep a level head of what you're doing and where things are going. Some of the biggest problems I encountered that were super annoying is making sure that the origin is set to the middle, because sometimes you'll bring things in and you'll start changing them, setting the positions. So for example, if I brought in this this logo, now initially the origin would be set to the top left hand corner, which is fine, because then you're going to see, okay, the starting position is in the middle. I'll write that down because I eventually want it to pop up from there or move to there. I write that down, then I move it to the side, and then I write down those numbers, keep it on the side, and then at the later stage when I want it to move in, I can just go type in move to. So then it'll move from wherever it currently is to the position I assigned it. But what starts happening is if you want to scale or rotate, if your origin isn't in the right place, it's not going to do the things you want it to do. So then going back and reassigning all the XY values to fit the new origin you assigned in the middle becomes extremely tedious and sets you back quite far. So that's just one thing to be mindful of when going into this. Making sure that your origin is in the middle and constantly making like annotations of the positions you bring things in. So if you bring it in and it's perfect, this preferences bar, all these things are perfectly laid out and aligned. So if I want them to move in sequence, like preference slide in first and then format and then content and then frequency, making sure that all these things land up in the right spot here, you're going to have to go write down those values and then you're going to move it to the side. That's where it'll stay, and then the move to, you'll see a preference window, it moves to 63466, but currently it's on, it is on 63466, but then, well, that's moving out, so let me just find the moving in. Yeah, I wanted to move to 27655. So keeping tabs of the XY values, where you want them to end up and where they are currently, is quite important. So all the things that are here in the middle, you'll see those are the things that fade in. All the things that are out of the screen are things that slide in and come into view. It is, as I said, extremely like cluttered and confusing at an eye's glance, but keeping your things named and having a general idea of what your method of working doesn't make it that hard to figure out what's going on. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but I'm yet to figure that out. Yeah, this is my basic setup and method of setting up this prototype.